Welcome back to Tech Talks from Commercial Baking. In this episode, sponsored by Moline Machinery, I am speaking with David Moline, president of Moline Machinery, and we are discussing how bakers can select the right donut system for their specific needs. Hi, David. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Hey, Joni. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So, I am excited to talk about donuts. This is a timeless product that isn't going anywhere anytime soon. We are living in donut culture. So, that's kind of where I want to start the conversation is looking at this from a trends perspective. They are so prevalent. They're making their way out of the donut shop and they are coming into supermarket bakeries. They are in C stores, big box stores, they're everywhere. So, how is this impacting commercial donut producers in terms of the volume that they have to produce now versus, say, 5 or 10 years ago?
Sure. Yeah, no, to your point. Donuts they're on trend right now, which is, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not sure that we saw it coming, but we're here for it, and it's fantastic, especially in recent years. With how on-trend donuts are kind of across the board, whether it be cake donuts, mini donuts, yeast donuts. There's definitely been kind of a shift for the demands on manufacturing. And people want quick and easy access to donuts, whether it be your national brands or, your retail stores or your corner stores, your convenience stores, your grocery store bakeries. Their donuts are more prevalent than ever. You see them front and center. The demands on those manufacturers has really been increased as far as the volumes that they need to produce every single day. And let's just face it, it's hard to find people to make donuts in a grocery store every single day. And so what we're seeing is a lot of these fresh daily operations, they're kind of becoming centralized, and the volumes that they're being asked to produce while still producing a wide variety, it's gone up. For sure. That's why we at Moline, we've had to adapt to that. So we're well known in the industry, I think, for the highest volume systems that are available on the market. And that's something we pride ourselves on, and not something that's going to be going away. But regardless, that the market is just kind of shown us that we've had to adapt our systems, and we've actually kind of created two classes of donut system. You're going to see a mid-volume system, and you're going to see a high-volume system. And these mid-volume systems, they're really designed for fresh daily bakeries where it's a more of a nimble operation. It's somebody that's going to be producing wide variety of donuts in a fixed period of time because they have to get them to the stores every single day. Whereas the high capacity systems are no different than they've always been for us, except that they're getting bigger and bigger, but they're tailored for the lowest cost of production, lowest labor, lowest unit cost possible that a baker can achieve.
In thinking about volume and thinking about where we are today versus 5 or 10 years ago, and donut producers are growing, how would you advise some of these commercial bakeries in how to prioritize? Like, where do you draw the line between efficiency and having one single high volume line versus flexibility where you would have multiple mid-size lines?
Right. Well, that's really where we come in to help. We see a lot of bakeries all over the world. We've got a pretty good feel for what's the right equipment, what's the right kind of system. And we always want to maximize efficiency. We never want to take efficiency for granted, but there's definitely a point where flexibility becomes a priority. And so oftentimes, for example, if it's a centralized bakery that's servicing a few hundred stores every single day, and they have to make, say, 20 different varieties of donuts in a 12-hour window, well, then one big system probably doesn't make a lot of sense. And so that's why, again, we created our mid-volume systems. It's a more compact system. It's a little bit more capital friendly. But as far as changeovers, that's where it really sets itself apart. We use what we call an auto-loading stamper. It cuts the donut shape. If you're cutting a ring, it ejects the hole, and it removes the trim all in a single step. And it's extremely quick. Literally less than 1 minute to change from product A to product B. So, and this type of system can run capacities of your standard 3-inch ring donut of rates of 4,000 to up to 18,000 per hour. So, not necessarily small lines, but when you're talking about servicing a lot of stores, oftentimes just because you're a fresh daily bakery doesn't mean you have low volumes. Sometimes the volumes are very, very high, but when the product mix is also very high, then multiple lines is typically the direction to go.
All right, so we're talking about changeovers, and that makes me think about downtime. When I think downtime,
Mhm.
I also think about sanitation. Like you can't be a donut producer and not be concerned about sanitation. So, is it possible to minimize downtime with sanitation when we're dealing with especially like donuts that create a lot of debris?
Yeah, no, great question. That's been a focal point of our innovation for the last several years. And it's been led by our high volume systems. Say early 2000s, we started introducing continuous sediment removal and oil filtration to our frying systems. And honestly, that was a total game changer for your high volume frozen operations where you want to be running 24/7 if possible, or maybe a couple weeks at a time if possible. But prior to the introduction of our sediment removal and oil filtration systems, you'd have to stop and clean 1 or 2 times a week, sometimes more, because depending on the product, if you're running, say, a fritter or any kind of yeast raised donut that may require a lot of flour in the sheeting process or starch as a release agent from your proofer, a lot of it would end up in the fryer, and then your oil quality is reduced and you just can't run anymore. You were forced to take a shift or two down to sanitize your line. So fast forward to today and what we're talking about with both the high volume and, let's say, the mid volume wide variety producers. For many bakeries where, say, you have multiple mid volume systems, they have the same demands as the industrial systems, the same standards as far as quality. You still need premium equipment that can run reliably, because any downtime and you might miss your delivery to a store that night, and that's
Yeah.
just not going to happen. So again, with the frying systems, with the continuous sediment removal and oil filtration, we've had our high volume customers run for weeks at a time without turning the line off, which is great. Not only is it good for uptime, it also maintains your oil quality. Another thing we've done as a further adaptation, again, driven by our high volume systems, was we added continuous debris removal to our proofing systems. Our donut proofers now feature live bottoms, where if you didn't have a live bottom, sometimes you would have to stop quickly and an operator would have to clean out the proofer. That's not the case anymore. Just like with the frying systems, the proofers are cleaning themselves. It's a huge benefit for, again, the high volume customers, but mid volume systems, they're really seeing the same benefits from that. Again, it goes back to quality, and any stoppage in your shift is lost money, it's lost time, and it's just something that all bakers can benefit from. And so that's, again, where our innovation is being driven by those sanitary features.
So I love that Moline is taking every factor in the donut making process into consideration as you are designing your equipment. When we're talking about donuts, more than most other product categories, that there are just so many nuances in one production area. Is that fair to say, or am I making assumptions?
No, you hit the nail on the head. It's a broad category. When you're talking about yeast donuts, you could be talking about mini yeast raised holes, or you could be talking about a large filled Long John or a filled Bismarck. Cake donuts, you've got sticks, you've got balls, you've got French crullers, you've got, gosh, I'm going to be missing a few here. There's just all, you get the point though. There's just so much variety. It all falls under the donut umbrella. So
Right. And a
yes,
retailer's not going to reach out to 17 different suppliers for each individual type of donut. So there just are so many different factors that one donut producer has to keep in mind.
it goes kind of back to our initial topic of system design and what makes the most sense. Finishing drives system design, process design in a huge way. There's just no two bakery operations that are going to have the same demands.
So where does that come into play? For some bakers who make ready to finish donuts and some who are doing that finishing on the line, are there specific features of Moline systems that will accommodate each of those?
Finishing, especially for the high volume systems, going back, gosh, say 15, 20 years, it didn't really exist. Now it's commonplace. Retailers don't want to finish donuts in the store anymore. They don't want to buy ready to finish donuts, have somebody put icing on them and then put them on the shelves. They want to take it out of the box and have it be available for sale. And so that's challenging the manufacturers to add finishing capability, even for the highest volume systems. And so that comes with any number of things. For yeast donuts, icing is probably the most common. Glazing systems for sure. Cake donuts, there's also a nice wide variety. You can have ice cake donuts glazed, then you get into your tumbled products, powdered sugar, cinnamon sugar, sometimes seasonal offerings. We're getting into fall, your pumpkin spice, whatever it may be. And oftentimes we see variety packs. And that leads to another challenge with system design, where sometimes we have to be making multiple types of finished donuts at the same time, simultaneously,
Hmm.
because they're getting packaged together. There may be a demand for glazing on the system, but sometimes you may only want to glaze half the product flow. The other half might be powdered sugar, or a fourth might be powdered sugar, and then a fourth might be cinnamon sugar. We can provide all that. We can do systems where we split the flow of product, and oftentimes it can be done in the fryer, where we divide, say, half the product to go one direction, half to go the other direction after it's out of the fryer. Again, it's going to be customer driven on how we design that, but that's what we pride ourselves on, is customizing. We obviously have our standard offerings, but that's where the fun is, in this job, is getting a new challenge that comes in the door, getting somebody to come to our innovation center that we have here and help them develop their product, develop their process. Variety packs presents a really fun challenge when it comes to designing a donut system.
Right, David, this just leads me to one last question. What is the best way for a baker to get in touch with Moline to get the conversation started and find out how they can design a system that suits their specific donut production needs?
We just redesigned our website. There's multiple ways to contact us. We've got a contact form there. We've got a phone number. Give us a call. We're on LinkedIn. Send us a message. One of the things that I love about this industry, the baking industry, the donut industry, is there's so many great long-term relationships that you can form. It makes it a lot of fun to look back, over the years and see how things have grown with our customers and with us. And so we're here to listen and solve problems. We're a customized system producer for the baking industry, and that's the way we're going to stay.
I love that. Well, David, thank you so much for taking time to talk with me about one of my favorite topics. I think I'm going to go out and get a donut right
That sounds like a great idea.
now.
I'm going to do the
Thanks
same.
again, David. It was great talking to you.
All right. Thank you, Joni.